Yo, what's up, motherfuckers? It's your boy watching this YouTube video. I'm doing fucking reaction video shit right now. But so this guy, TheDoctorBlu, he makes I'd say he makes good videos. He's one of those Dragon Ball fighters, makes beginner guides people. And I used to be pretty active in his Discord server a while back. I used to be a mod, and fucking, what was I gonna say? I've disagreed with him on a couple of things before, but I don't hate the guy. I think he makes good videos. Let's just get into this. So, the video. Why it's still too early for a tier list in Season 3. Now, here's the thing about tier lists. I disagree with that point fundamentally, because I think that all tier lists from the dawn of time ever have always been 100% opinion. However, we're gonna expand on that as the video goes on, and yeah, let's just fucking start it, cause I think tier lists are mainly just opinions, educated opinions from people who know something about the game, and you should never take them as Bible, right? If there's a pro player that thinks a certain character is non-viable, but also never touch that character, then you don't have to take everything that Goichi says or Sonic Fox says as a Bible fact, right? Fucking, let's take for example Alioun, right? I know Alioun very early on in Season 2 was putting Majin Buu in S tier, and I was never on that train. I'm a Majin Buu main. I have the same information as he does. We all play the game, which I'm pointing at my TV. You can't even see it because it's not on the screen. But fucking, we all have the same game, right? We all have the same frame data available to us. We all have the same characters available to us. Some of them cost money though, so that's the thing. But yeah, really, tier list is just opinions made based on information that people already know about the game. Let's just start it.
Hey, what's going on, dudes? It's TheDoctorBlu, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects in Season 3, specifically why it's too early for a tier list. And I mean, come on, it is. You see tier lists coming out left and right, and between me and you, no one knows. This game is more complicated than the original Dragon Ball FighterZ was upon release. I mean, that's just God's honest truth.
I disagree with that. I think this game got a lot more simple from characters' combos getting a lot easier, especially in the cases of Teen Gohan, for example. I know they made a lot of his BMBs easier or something. There was Majin Buu. They made a couple of changes to make him a little bit easier. They made a couple changes to who was it? There was a couple others, but they definitely made a lot of things easier in the game. They made things a lot more universal. They made things a lot more samey, you could say. So I don't think it's a very complex game right now. At least at the very least, not as complex as it used to be in Season 1. Vanilla Fighters was actually super nuanced and it was really fucking broken, but I think that's what made it a good game. I fucking like broken games, but yeah, so I don't think this game is any more complex. I think it's about the same, honestly. It's really not any more complicated or less. It's this game has really always been kind of universal. A lot of characters had the same basic BMB combo. A lot of the links are kind of unrealistic to go for in tournaments, so the game's really kind of similar. There's different characters are at different spots now, but game is similar.
It has 3 assists per character. It has brand new mechanics, and that basically says that everything that you want to happen, like it was in Season 1 and Season 2, it's not going to happen anymore. That's not how this game works anymore. The fundamental shift of thinking things need to be in a tier list is just wrong. I mean,
now tier lists, here's the thing, nobody makes a tier list because things need to be in a certain order, because tier lists change over time. They've always been opinion based on, like I said, opinion based on the information given to a player in the game, right? So, what's the thing? Tier lists are never set in stone. There's never one definitive tier list for a game. How many years has Smash Bros. Melee been out with no patches, and how many times has that tier list changed? Right? Think about that shit for a second. There was a while back they said Kirby was the worst character. Now it's Bowser. And it used to be fucking someone else. I don't remember. But the point is, that game has been out for how many years? And that's, of course, the top character is the same, right? Because the top characters are still the meta characters and all that shit. But how many times the bottom of the characters have shifted because people's opinions about the characters changed? And the game has still had the exact same information for God knows how long. So it's never too early to make a tier list. It's just a sorting out of your interpretation of the information the game gives you. So that's why I'm kind of disagreeing with him on this one.
Case in point, let's take a character like Captain Ginyu. Captain Ginyu is someone who's been seen as low tier his entire lifespan in this game. However, with his new assist, the Ginyu assist we can call, the implementation of C assist, and his A assist was never bad. He can actually fit in any spot on the team. So where does he go in a tier list?
I'm not going to talk about that, but I disagree with that. I think I might make a video on my latest tier list and talk separately about that, but I disagree with that point that Ginyu can go everywhere.
Well, you can't say he's indescribably better than any other character because that's just not how the game works anymore. Instead, you can start to say...
That's untrue because you see in fighting games, having any sort of measurable difference between a character will automatically mean that one character is high tier and one character is low tier. Because the way people play the game at the time, there's always going to be one character that does it better than another, and that character is going to be considered top tier. It doesn't matter how broken a character's tools are. You can have a low tier that has a really good tool. But if the character plays the game, right, quote unquote, better than the low tier, then generally the top tier is going to be considered the better character. And they're only top tier because they play the game better, right? So it's not about, that's not how the game works. That's how fighting games work, right? It's all about who plays the game better at the time. And of course they got rid of all snap fuzzies and all that shit, so no one does a certain mechanic better than anyone else. But that's because really this game is very samey, and the only reason it's as balanced as it is because many characters are basically very, very similar. So even if they're very, very similar, there's still just tiny, tiny differences between characters that makes it so there's definitely better characters than others. And if you have a sort of idea of how the game works, you can sort of picture what characters are going to be playing the game better. Now, of course, we had Sonic Fox show us shit about Base Vegeta, and I know I was never on the Base Vegeta train, and then Sonic Fox came out, and I was like, what the fuck, this character's broken. Wawa with Base Goku, and now Base Goku's considered really good. It's all information, right? If you're a top player, you're playing the current top tiers, you're not going to try out other characters, because you're trying out the characters that the meta considers better. And obviously, you know what, I forgot my point. I think that's it. Let's go.
Hey, this character shines in this area. So take a character like Trunks. He is definitely an amazing anchor. And if you want to start making tier lists...
He's an amazing anchor with sparking.
If you start breaking it down in ways like this is the anchor tier list. How good is the character by an anchor? And I can think of it immediately like a top 3 to 5. You have Base Goku, Trunks, GBS Broly is an amazing anchor, Frieza is an amazing anchor. Essentially, anyone who has a power-up buff, or a huge damaging level 3.
I'm surprised he doesn't mention Yamcha here.
An amazing anchor for your team.
Because Yamcha's really good now.
They have good neutral, but neutral really just comes down to you as a character. That's just the truth. Neutral comes down to you as a player. It's not necessarily the tools the opponent has to use against you. It's how comfortable you are using the toolbox you are given to succeed in the environment.
That's partly true, but mostly wrong, because I think it's very, very obvious that a character like Tien has worse neutral than a character like, I don't know, Z Broly. And it's not about the tools and how comfortable the player is, because that's part of it, obviously. If you're uncomfortable playing a character with shitty neutral, then obviously your neutral is going to suffer even more than if you didn't have shitty neutral. But shitty neutral is definitely a factor, right? Tien, I think, suffers from one of the worst neutral in the game, right? Because his movement is kind of limited, and he has one Ki Blast. His air Ki Blast has a pretty shitty angle, and his beam is risky and has like a very, very tiny hitbox. A really stupid small hitbox. He basically has to rely on Bardock Ki Blast and Candy Beam, and that's his whole neutral. So there's definitely a case to be made that certain characters have worse neutral than others, and it comes down, like I said, to differences between characters. Maybe a character isn't supposed to have good neutral, right? Maybe you're supposed to make the character have shitty neutral so they have trouble getting in, and then when they get in, they shine, right? But again, it's all differences between characters, and that's what makes a tier list sort of justified, you could say, is it's just how you interpret information. Now, there's someone else out there that could think you're underrating Tien neutral. Tien neutral is actually really good. You just don't know how to use it. And I could be wrong because I'm interpreting the information differently. But until you prove me wrong by showing me this information, then my opinion is never going to change. Therefore, my tier list is never going to change. And this is, like I said, there's no one definitive tier list for a game. I've never really believed that. There's no one size fits all tier list for any game. Even Third Strike, I think there was like I don't know, there was like a top 3 characters. It was like Chun-Li, Yun, Yun and Ken were like the top 3 characters in that game, and they could all like very viably compete against each other. They were all really good. I think people put Chun-Li in S, but then there was also Yun could kind of counter her. It's weird, right? But the point is, there is no one tier list for the game, right? A player makes a character good, but how good the character can be with what they have in the environment, and how good people think that character is because of information. Do people play this character? If no one plays them, people just assume they're bad. Then that's what makes a tier list, and that's why that's back to the point why I disagree. It's too early for a tier list, because the thing is, it's never too early to form an opinion about something, right? You could form an opinion that's maybe misinformed, but that will change over time. You mature your opinion as information comes out, and you just change your mind on stuff.
So, case in point, Aqua, case in point, Goichi and Fidrick, and anyone else who's releasing a tier list right now, I think it's really strange if you have that level of clout to be putting your opinions out there in such a direct way, saying this is the tier and these are ordered, by the way. Of course, tier lists are fine.
You can order an opinion, right? You can make a tier list that's ordered and also have it be opinionated. There's no such thing as a definitive tier list, like I said. They should always be taken as opinion. Like I said, you should never take a tier list as a Bible. You don't look at a list of how good characters are and say, well, I have to play good characters, because I think honestly, if you make a tier list where people just say, oh, these are the good characters, these are the shitty ones, more people are going to say, I'm going to play a shitty one because I'm going to be special. Or, oh, the pros are going to be like, I'm going to play a good character because I want to win. But, you don't take tier lists as a Bible. That's not, I think that's a misconception he has in this video that I fundamentally disagree with. That people that take tier lists as Bibles know what they're talking about, because they really don't. It's a weird thing, right? Because it's just opinion, but at the same time, it's like a hypothesis. Really, it's a prediction. That's what a tier list is. You make a prediction about how well a character does in a competitive scene, or even you could just make oh yeah, this is an online tier list. Vegeto's S tier because he has a jab.
Are always just going to be your opinion. That's literally what it boils down to, the opinion of a player or a team of people who come together to make a list. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Just an insight into the...
Yes, that is what tier lists are. So, doesn't explain why it's too early for a tier list. Anyone can have an opinion early.
It is super great to cover tier lists specifically for fighting games. it brings massive amounts of traffic into your channel that you might not have had before. However, I just caution you, anyone you're watching who's saying this is a tier list and doesn't give a massive disclaimer right in the beginning that says, hey, this might not be accurate, is...
I don't think you should have to give a disclaimer at the beginning of the season when nobody fucking knows anything. When it's based completely on your opinion and nobody really has seen shit. You shouldn't need a disclaimer for something that's like common sense to people that like played the game, right? Obviously, even pro players have gotten stuff wrong, right? Because remember, nobody knew shit about base Vegeta until Sonic Fox made that team in Season 2, right? So you shouldn't have to give a disclaimer before giving your opinion. That's like putting a trigger warning before stuff. It's fucking, what are you putting this for? You clicked on it, right? You should get prepared for it.
Really not looking out for your best interests. And I would only say this after a few recent conversations I've had with other content creators and pro players within the FGC, specifically for Dragon Ball FighterZ. It eventually becomes a game where you have to put asterisk after asterisk upon every single character, because it comes down to where you are as a player and how deep you're willing to travel into a character's mechanics. One of the wildest things I've seen recently is Alioun saying Majin Buu, yeah, Majin Buu, Big Boo, being top 3 this season. Well, that's no surprise. I mean, he literally is a main of Majin Buu. He's been writing him since Season 1.
I'm gonna kind of like skip this part because I don't want the video to be too long, but basically if you go watch this video, this is a good point he makes, that of course Alioun would think Majin Buu's top 3 because he mains Majin Buu, and because he himself as a player does better when playing Majin Buu. He's most comfortable with him. And this all comes down to, like I said, tier lists are just opinions, right? If you look at a Sonic Fox tier list and how weird a Sonic Fox tier list looks, that's not because Sonic Fox is ranking characters according to how well they play the game. He's ranking characters based on how well he can play them as a player. He's not making a tier list for the game. He made the Sonic Fox tier list. You see what I'm going with this? There is no definitive tier list for a game like this, or really fighting games in general, unless a game is super duper unbalanced and there's like unwinnable matchups, which that's not this game. There is no definitive one-size tier list, and that's why all tier lists made for a game, especially like this, are opinion. So that's why I think it's still too early for there to be a tier list is just kind of disingenuous, really, because anyone can form an opinion and have it be built on information that's wrong. You just have to prove them wrong, and then they'll probably change their opinion.
He's probably the one of the best Majin Buus out there. Of course, he would think he's top 3, but anybody else on the street would look at that and be like, well, that's just not correct. That cannot be correct. But as someone as good as him with a tech...
And like I said, I'm gonna keep this. I said I didn't want the video to be too long, but I'm gonna keep this part. Yeah, most people can't use Majin Buu like Alioun can use Majin Buu, therefore they don't have the right information, therefore their opinion is unchanged.
The only true buffs he got this season was the extra damage off of his off-the-ground command grab, the EX move coming out just a little faster, the invul frames being just there so it's harder to down-heavy them on reaction, and head invincibility on his auto combo. Those are the only things that truly made him better than the Season 2 counterpart, but that's not an...
Those few changes, while they were few, definitely did improve the character, because think about this. The extra damage he gets off super means you can very reliably kill people and save a lot of bar, especially considering he already had ways to build massive amounts of bar and damage in his combos, especially in the corner. The fucking, what am I saying? The EX kick only got faster in Season 2, so I don't know where he got that from, unless he's like, talking about just general changes from where he was first. And head invincibility on auto combo. They also nerfed the auto combo though, so I don't think that's too much of a problem. It's just fucking annoying, because I don't know why you would buff an auto combo. But the thing is, even though he got few changes, the fact is he was already good, and then they made him better on top of that. So of course he's still good. Of course, he's still a very good character. Not only that, they made, just with that grab change, right? They made it, one, a more viable option, right? Because no one used to go for that shit in combos. But now, it's like a part of his fucking game plan is to land that grab, so then your super does more damage, and then you can kill people even easier, build even more bar. It's just, it's a small change, but it made a huge difference. You can make a tiny tweak to a game and make a huge difference, right? Removal of fuzzies, right? That was a big reason Cooler wasn't like used at all fucking pro playing. That was a big reason Janemba wasn't used at all. 21 was barely used. She just wasn't used, period. Fucking made big characters more viable was the removal of fuzzies. And you could debate about whether the removal of fuzzies was a good change or not, because I know I have my own opinions about that, but yeah, the point is, small changes can make huge differences. And yeah.
You know this by now too, is that in the beginning of the game, when he launched besides Bardock, nobody played him. Of course, he's had buff after buff since then, but it's because of the popularity that he's risen in the polls. And
that's just false, I'm sorry. And you mentioned it. You mentioned that he got buff after buff. Those buffs are the real reason he risen in popularity, and he was never popular even in Season 2 because of the fuzzy problem, right? So, the fact that fuzzies are gone removed a huge part of why people didn't play him. Huge part. People did not want to take fuzzies. Then, he only got buffed, even as in Season 2 he was starting to make a difference, and he was already considered a good character with just the weakness of fuzzies. And by that point, people already figured out universal fuzzy, so it's not like getting fuzzied even fucking mattered anymore, because everyone got fuzzy by that shit. So, the reason he's rising is not because just he's more popular, because more pro players are picking him, because people change their minds. He's getting more popular because he's literally getting better as a character, right? He already had great zoning. Then, from Season 1, they buffed his command grab, so then it was a viable option, right? 24 frames is like the command grab standard for a command grab being good, right? He also has the 17 frame one, which you talked about, right? The fast one. But then also, right, let's talk about Season 3 changes. His C assist is fucking really good. His B assist is alright. His A assist got better. His barrier, you can now refresh it, so his anti-projectile is even better, and then he could still zone you out. Right? What else did they buff on this dude? They, from Season 2, they, I believe they did something. Don't remember exactly what they did, but the point is he's only gotten better literally as he's been changed, he's been patched. So he's getting better because he's getting better. It's not just popularity. It's actually the opposite. He's getting more popular because he's getting better. So that's a point I feel like I have to sort of correct, is maybe he misspoke or something, but I think that's just wrong, that Z Broly is only getting better because he's more popular. That's just the wrong way of putting it.
Character is good, but what about online? I mean, you take a 17 frame command grab, you put him online in a 5 frame delay like most people have in this game that are playing wireless, that becomes a 12 frame command grab. They're not reacting, so of course Z-Roll is going to look like he's top tier.
So this right here, this is a big fucking flaw with this video. This is a big reason I wanted to make this video right here, is because he uses online and delay, frame delay, as a point as to why it's too early for a tier list. Online, I don't even know what to say. This game has horrible netcode. If you think online is a viable place to make your opinion about something, and especially he says most people play on wireless and have a 5 frame delay. That's a 5 frame delay. That's not how things work in tournaments. Now, of course, we're having online tournaments because we're quarantined and I'm going fucking insane and getting cabin fever. But That's not how all tournaments are run, and that's not how they've been run historically. This is an exception to the rule, not the new norm, right? Online tournaments, online Evo is not going to be the next Evo for the next millennia, alright? They're not going to be doing online Evo for the rest of our lives, because online sucks. There's a big reason that pro players maybe put Vegeta lower or something. Some characters that are these like scrub killers online are generally kind of lower tier or not top tier, is because online sucks. It sucks. It fucking sucks. And you can make an online tier list, but it's not like it really shouldn't be taken seriously. It's like a joke. You put like Vegito S tier because he has, oh shit, bro, that jab beats all the clashes online, unreactable. You have that fucking tick throw, bro. But you really don't use Wi-Fi play as a metric for making a tier list. I don't think anyone ever does. I think even fucking the worst players of this game, the most misinformed opinions I've ever seen, no one says, oh yeah, I put Vegito in S tier because he's broken in 7-frame delay. Like, dude, that's not how people make tier lists. You don't use online to make tier lists. That's just fucking wrong.
Every character is viable. Even Videl. Even Jiren.
I disagree.
Even Android.
And I'm gonna pause. I'm probably gonna address this in a tier list video because I made a new one. But what am I saying? Fucking right. Videl and 16 are the only two characters I consider non-viable in this game, and that's because of the fact that they're so gimmicky in order to make work, and the only reason they thrive is because people don't know the matchup. And that's, of course, you know, like, hidden power of low tiers, quote-unquote, is nobody knows the matchup. But the point is, if you just take, like, 5 minutes out of your day to lab the character, you automatically know these characters fucking suck. And I don't think anyone who's serious about playing the game would like to subject themselves to Videl or 16 on their team. That's really why you never see Videl, alright? Because no Videl is winning a top 8 because Videl is not a viable character. Videl has so many problems, 16 has so many problems with their moveset that they're just not, you're not going to win tournaments against people who can adapt, right? Now, maybe Videl, you can make a case for Videl because she actually has mix-ups, but Android 16, I really don't think, no thank you, right? That's just not, I genuinely think that 16 is not viable.
But 16, these characters are viable. Even Gogeta with terrible frame data, he's viable because of what he brings to the team. That's it. Which
is like barely anything, but go on.
If you're going to create a tier list, do it. But be smart like Gogeta and Finrich work. Be really, really smart and say there's an I don't know section. That's cool. It is cool to not know things. Do not fall into the trap to say you have to know things. Tier list automatically.
Like I said, there's kind of a fundamental disconnect between me and him where he feels like you need to have a disclaimer to say your opinion. I don't think you really should warn people that tier lists are opinion because I feel like it should be fairly obvious using common sense that at the start of the game, when there's no major tournaments because we're all locked in from Corona, when the only time people are playing the game is when they're on net play, and there's no tournaments, and Evo's gonna suck, and no one's gonna know anything, then tier lists are all opinion. And they really are anyway, right? Tier lists have always been opinion. There's just some games that have been around for longer or more or less balanced, and certain information is more obvious than other information.
Automatically imply definitive articles. So when is it going to be time for a tier list for Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 3? My guys, I don't think ever. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think we will ever need a tier list for Dragon Ball FighterZ again in this current...
Here's the thing, he really says need, and I feel like that's important to pick up on, because you never need a tier list. Right? If you know if you're good at playing a game, right? Let's say you're really good at playing Street Fighter V. And maybe you play only like online and locals, you don't watch the pro scene, you don't look at tier lists. You can sort of get a good idea just from playing other people that play these other characters, where those characters might be in sort of a ranking system. You don't need to make a tier list to sort of rank in your head, oh, this character sucks. right? You can even if you're so against tier lists that you've never made one in your life and you refuse to make one and you only play characters people are considered low tier, right? If you play someone who's playing some character that you've never fought and yet you still adapted to them, you can sort of picture in your mind, oh, this character kind of sucks. So you don't need tier lists. And he says that you don't need tier lists. You will never need a tier list. And I agree with that, but for a much different reason than it's too early to make a tier list, or the game is so balanced you don't need a tier list. It's that you never needed tier lists in any game ever to sort of know that characters suck or not, right? Everyone knows Kid Boo's good. I think everyone who plays the game has the exact same complaints about Kid Buu. And that's because Kid Buu, even if he's not even popular, people just know, oh yeah, this character, he's fucking stupid, right? Why else do you think I play Kid Buu? But, anyway, that's important to pick up on, is that he says we don't need tier lists. And he says that like it's a new thing, but you never needed tier lists. That's a thing I'm arguing. You never needed a tier list to sort of make an opinion. A tier list, in my opinion, is just a chart showing your thinking process and your opinion. So no, you never needed tier lists except maybe for noobs who are trying to get into the game, and you're trying to give them a good idea of what characters are good and what's not.
I think that's exactly what this meta is about. Pure creativity. 1. Pure imagination. Willy Wonka. And 3. Just pure ingenuity. Your ability to take a team in with a random mix of assists. Literally exponential more options than you had in Season 2. And make a team that works for you.
I would agree with this more because I do really wish I could agree, because new assists and all that kind of shit is good for the game. But really, this game really wanted you to stop ingenuity. They want a lot of things to be the same because they want it to be balanced. That's the thing about balance that people don't consider. There's character variety, right? You get to see a lot of different characters at pro play, but the characters are more of the same level. So it's not like seeing Young Link in Melee. If you see a really good Gogeta player, you're not gonna be as hype as seeing, let's say you're playing Third Strike and you see a really good 12 player, right? A character like that's considered this non-viable piece of garbage, right? But anyway, there was a lot more ingenuity when this game allowed you to be a little bit more creative with your combos, right? Like double supers, I think the first patch in Season 1, but not vanilla, was the time for the most ingenuity, because the game was still new. However, people were finding all these crazy shits, right? SSJ Goku was never considered broken, but there were people that were doing work with SSJ Goku that were doing these crazy combos that people have never seen. Kid Buu staircase combos that I'm 90% sure they got rid of. All these links that are now not in the game or made too easy to be considered creative. They're now just the optimal, right? I think if this game was more centered on letting you figure shit out, but also letting things be hard and letting characters be viable but not too easy, then this game would be in a lot better spot, right? And Snap Mix. I agree with what a lot of Lord Knight thinks about Snap Mix, right? I really like the fact that Snap took away some defensive options. Now, in my opinion, Snap should have been changed, right? Because Snap being looped was a little bit stupid. I think that every time you wanted to snap, you would have had to spend a bar, right? A full bar plus the meter scaling, and then you get your mix. I think that would have been a completely fair change, because some characters had to vanish, some characters couldn't get it completely meterless, all that kind of shit. And then here's the deal: you're discouraged from doing it. It's just a one-time thing now, because now you're spending a bar on top of a bar you may have already spent. So that's 2 bars to get a mix-up, and you're never building bar off that mix-up, right? Let's say you have a mix-up in the corner, you do a fuzzy. Let's say you're doing a fuzzy, right? You spent 2 bars to get that fuzzy, and you did 30% to a character without supers, and you built like no bar. That's where I wanted Snap to be, because it allowed you to mix people up and open people up in a game that had these crazy defensive, like this sort of emphasis on defense, right? Where there's no push block, but there's a reflect, but it's risky, and you have to block for very long periods of time, but the mix is reactable. I don't know why I put this in quotes. Most of it is reactable, but that's the thing. If there was a sort of non-looping mechanism for it, I would be a lot more fine with that kind of mix-up. But yeah. So this game really doesn't have as much variety, even though there's character variety, right? You see a lot of different characters, but the game is played the exact same with almost every single one of them. And that's where I feel the ingenuity and creativity point goes out the window, is because before, the game allowed you to be a lot more creative with how you open people up. There was SSJ Vegeta didn't used to have a reflect property, right? And you used to use that for your mix-up, but at the same time, there was cross-up protection, so you had to be very, very careful. Shit like that. Snap mix, right? Here's the thing not a lot of people considered about snap mix, right? Getting that fuzzy and also converting off it, and also, let's say they blocked it being safe from it. Some of that type of shit took a lot of execution. Some of that type of shit took effort and actual player skill to do. And if it wasn't loopable, I'd say it'd be perfect. But let's go on. The video's almost done.
You want to run mod, be yourself. Be optimistic about your character, and if you see them in D tier, don't believe it. It's just not true. If you love the character, you can...
I think that's sort of toxic mindset, right? Is don't give a fuck about what anyone else says. Just do you, because they're wrong and you're right, and no one else has better information than you, and you know your character best even if you suck at the game. And I could be, like, you know, interpreting it wrong and not, like, sort of putting words in his mouth. But the thing is, it kind of promotes that kind of mindset. I really don't think you should completely ignore someone underrating your character. You should sort of ask them why, right? Because that's the thing is about tier lists, is that it can also, while they're very influential to newer players that might be influenced by misinformation, they can also spark debate. Because let's say two people have a tier list, one person puts Janemba particularly high, and one person puts him particularly low, and then the person that has him low asks the person that has him high, why you got Janemba in S tier? And they start a whole debate, and maybe the person that has him low changes his mind, puts him in like A+ or something, right? It's all about opinion, right? And I think he kind of knows that, but he kind of articulated it wrong. And I'm not saying he's like purposefully like spreading lies or whatever about the game, but I think a lot of points in this video might have been articulated wrong, or he has a sort of different way of thinking than me, and I sort of have to say my piece. But I really think that it's never too early for a tier list, because tier lists are entirely opinion. And it's never too early to form an opinion, because opinions change. That's the thing. There's never one definitive tier list, like I brought up in the beginning of the video. Smash Bros. Melee. That tier list changed, and it's like, God knows how... Let me count. Fucking like 20 years old or something. That game was like 19, 20 years old. Maybe more. But point is, a tier list is either based on matchups and generated, or it's an opinion based on how you think the character does against other characters. And you don't have to take opinions as a Bible. You can sort of use them as a reference. A reference is a better word for a tier list than a guide, right? Because a guide teaches you how to do something, but a reference gives you an idea, a concept, and then you can sort of figure it out for yourself. That's what a tier list is. It's not a Bible or a guide, and it's not a how-to. It's not this like definitive set-in-stone thing. That's what I think. I think this video would have been a lot better if instead of saying it's too early for a tier list, saying don't rely on tier lists, because that would be a lot more accurate to what I think a tier list should be. A lot of people conceptualize what a tier list is, because they really do. I'm not saying there isn't people that take tier lists way too literally and start going, oh, this character, because she's in C tier, I'm not going to play her. Or this character, because he's in S tier, he's broken, I'm going to play him. You don't have to. But, it's all how it feels. that's the thing, right? Let's say a pro player feels out of character who other people think sucks, and he's like, you know what? I think this character might be good. I see potential in this character, right? No Kami put Piccolo very high and Zamasu very low, even though most people would basically just have those two switched. And I think that all has to come down to no Kami felt them both out and felt that Piccolo gave him more of what he wanted. So then his opinion changed because his information in his brain told him Piccolo feels better, Piccolo is better. I'm kind of rambling, but the point is, that's my piece. That's his video. Subscribe, I'm fucking done. Also, Ultra Instinct comes out May 22nd. And if you don't think he's cooler than Kefla, shut the fuck up. You're wrong. Your opinion is wrong. And tier lists are Bible.